Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live at 5 Mondays with your host, Cheryl Millett. I think we're going on to 3 years plus now with Live at 5s. And the idea is to bring in something completely new, something different. And then let's get into something that is current news, or unpack some of the research, and a variety of topics can come in at that segment. And then let's tell some jokes. I got a great book. It's 50 years old, and it has some very interesting things on puns and laughs and jokes and all that kind of stuff. So I've got some picked out there, some interesting ones. But let's get started, because I have been extremely busy doing harvesting. I'm having the experience of my life doing a variety of things that come from the land. So foraging is foraging, and you can definitely eat while you're walking. On the walk club, I climbed an apple tree on Sunday, passed down some apples, shook the apple tree, we ate some wild spinach. So there's still food. We're in mid-October, and there's still plenty of food to consume out there in the wild. Or nature. I mean, I don't want to kind of put it out tame, wild. At the end of the day, it's nature, and that's important. So I picked some wild apples a couple of weeks back, got a few bushels, if you are familiar what a bushel looks like, but definitely a few bushels. And are they perfect? No. I mean, sometimes we were shaking the tree. Quite often that's what you need to do. The nice ones were at the top, so somebody climbs the tree unless you can grab one of the branches. But they're not perfect. And now you're starting to see within the community, let's just say the grocery stores and others, actually having the imperfect fruit or imperfect food that you can select from. You can get used to that. So they got you used to having things perfect, and now they're going to make you feel bad that you weren't supposed to like it so perfect. That's what I like about things sometimes. They go back to nature as things happen, as they do happen, in different shapes, different sizes, and sometimes, sometimes a little brown. It just naturally comes that way. But this is what the side of capitalism can do. They can actually get you going in one direction, and then all of a sudden they know what's better for you. We got to get you to go in a different direction. But nonetheless, in nature, food is very interesting. It's not like what you buy in the store. And this was a point that I can make in the wild spinach plant. So I'm showing a few of the members of the walk club here, wild spinach, pick some, and they're going, well, this doesn't look like anything like what you buy in the store. Yeah, fair enough. It does not, but it tastes just like spinach. And you do have to pick quite a bit. They're not the big leaf, right? I don't know what this current frame rate is too low, action needed thing is, but the whole thing with the food out in the wild is you have to pick a lot in order to get a lot. I think it took me 20 minutes, and then as spinach does, it boils down into a little bit. But I wanted to show you the beauty of what's in the apple. If you cut the apple not from stem to bottom, but right across the middle, you get this beautiful star where it contains the seeds. And now I want to do a little bit of math with you in the apple. Now the interesting thing, you know how they say eat an apple a day keeps the doctor away? When I did my research for my book, All Guts, All Glory, the idea of eat an apple a day is apple really way back when was any round fruit. So plum, peach, nectarine, pears, somewhat roundish, but that's really what it was way back when. How it got to being just apple is anybody's guess, but any round fruit. That's what they meant by eat an apple a day, keep the doctor away. Of course, they didn't back then have all the toxicity, have all the stress, let's call it, or busyness, really busyness. They didn't have all of that back then. So times call for different things, for sure. If you want to really understand how the body works, you have to bring it back to simple terms. And this is, much longer conversation. But in the apples, you get a bunch of seeds. So let's just do the math. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? It's going to same thing about the apple tree. This is why at some point something came about on this planet. Let's just agree something came about. There is a tree, and the tree comes first, and then you have the fruit. And the apple tree, or any tree, or most of these plants, bears a lot of fruit, whether it comes through the flower and the fruit you can eat, but has a lot of the fruit. And then if you look at any one of the fruits or any one of the stems, let's say even in basil, there's many of the stalks that come up, but on each of them at the top, when it gets to flowering, there's a lot of flowers, so a lot of seeds are produced. So when I was doing all of those apples for all the product, which I'm going to show you in a bit, any one apple could have anywhere from 4, 5, 6, 7, and in some cases 8 or more seeds in any one apple. There's 100 apples, more than 100 apples on any one tree, but let's stick with 100. So you got 100 times 8. That's 800 seeds per one apple tree. And these seeds obviously don't make apple trees, all of them, but they're there, and that's the potential. And so what I wanted to kind of demonstrate with just the apple tree was the expansion. You have the tree. It came from one seed. This one seed produces a tree with 100 apples, and in each apple is many seeds, not just one seed, but many seeds. Unless it's premature, yeah, some apples are, but eight seeds per apple. So you can see the expansion. Nature shows us a lot. There's a lot of expansion. And right now, if I liken it to this time, there's actually a lot of expansion going on. Think about the people that are expanding their understanding and knowledge, expanding their social circles, expanding their, how can I say it, their horizons. They're doing things differently. People have met completely new groups of friends due to this event. And the expansion part is the expansion part into the good, I don't want to say good winning over evil, but the good prevailing, the good is expanding. And so that's how I see it. But in the meantime, you have a number of things that are showing us, and trust me, the games, they want to show you. They want to show you how evil things are. They want to, because it rocks people's boats. And the idea is to check in with your feelings to make sure you are feeling good. You are feeling, now I'm not talking you need to use drugs for it, but just come to a place of peace and understanding that things have to happen. The crazy things that have been happening today, slavery, debt, it's been happening for hundreds of years, millennia. It's been happening for a long time. So really the uncovering of things right now, for some, they know more. For others, you know very little. And in fact, that can be very much a shock for some people. And sometimes I have to check in with myself, with my intuition, my higher self, whether I say certain things here or in the company of certain people when they're kind of going someplace and things pop in. I have to check in, say it or don't say it, because there's only, some people can only handle so much at times. So if I'm guided to say it, I'll say it. But yes, so in, you can see these these seeds came from one apple. Now, are we still on here or are we not still on here? Okay, well, the too low FPS. I don't know what this is. So it seems like you probably can still see me. I don't have any comments here, but that's okay. If you can still see me, the clock is still going. I'm not sure how the settings work. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can see me, that's good. I'm not sure what too low FPS. I'm just going to click onto this very briefly and see if it streaming software, make sure your video meets the following specification. Video frame, DDD. Anyway, this is probably going to be a little bit left. 8-hour maximum. Well, that is okay. Bill rate. Oh, all these crazy things. Yeah, no, it's not helpful. Anyway, let's go in. Let's hopefully somebody can say, yeah, I'm seeing you, and you can still see me. And if you can still see me, then I'm going to continue. Because otherwise, I am not. I can see you here, but you are freezing for a few seconds every once in a while. I may just have to go to YouTube at the end of the day. I know when I replay these videos, everything is fine. So, you know, what it is beyond me. Yeah, not that I'm not, say, a little bit techie, but at the end of the day, it's crazy how things go. So you can still see me. I won't see whether or not things are showing up okay, but we'll just pretend we know what you're seeing. So apple trees, good. Actually, vitamin C, just lovely. Let me show you some of the things I made after I picked the very first night. I made, sorry, this is very heavy. I put a bunch of apples, chopped apples, into a large, this is a 4-liter glass jar. Just chop them up, put them in with some sugar, and every day I have to stir them, or every few days. After a little while, you can wait a little bit longer, but this is going to be apple cider vinegar. This is apple cider vinegar, so I was able to make that. I made jars of apple sauce. That's very simple. And then I made some, but not with the apples I picked then. I picked some apples at my father has a crab apple tree. So this is crab apple jelly. And, you know, the reason why I'm doing this is that I want hands-on experience, because what I learned from crab apple jelly is that crab apples have an amazing amount of pectin in and of themselves. Same with green apples. So this is the questioning where you go into and you think, okay, so you buy pectin. How did they make jams and jellies back when? You can take and make pectin very easily from green apples, from crab apples, and if you're making crab apple jelly, you do not need pectin at all. Even though I watched several videos and they do that. So what else did I make here? Yeah, show and tell. And I have a dehydrator, so I made some dehydrated apples, but this is only a fraction. What I've decided to do is, with the bushel I had left after doing the other things, I am just going to dehydrate it all and add it to granola or have it as snack food. And then from the garden project, I got a few cabbages. Mind you, they were small because we start it off late. So here's the sauerkraut with 4 small cabbages. So that was kind of easy because I just have an easy shredder. It's actually really easy to do it with a knife. And just throw it on here, salt. That's it. Massage it, get the juice out, and then you have to, I've got these 2 glass things in here to keep the cabbage underneath the surface the best you can. And you have to, in my case, I'm going to burp it. I don't want to buy any fancy equipment. I'm going to burp it, which means you just kind of open it up a little bit. As things ferment, they bring in, yeah, it just produces gas and stuff. So you want to be doing that. So that's that. Then I found a wonderful rose hip bush. And I might try and get some more, but one of the things I learned to do with rose hip is rose hip syrup. So I only got 1 jar because I only had 1.5 cups of the rose hips when I picked. I didn't know what a recipe would call for, but you just use a teaspoon of this. It's almost like if you needed anything to sweeten, like you would use maple syrup. you would use the rose hip syrup for. So if you can think of it that way. So very nice, flavorful rose hips. Then at the garden, as most gardens have, and I don't know that for sure, but I recall them using this, marigolds. I never really liked the smell of marigolds. It's very, very strong, but I've grown to really like the marigold smell and appreciate them. And you can eat a lot of the flowers on plants, petals, including the marigolds. But this is marigold, the flowers, and I dehydrated it, but if you're making, you can dehydrate it low in the oven anyway and dry things out like we do with herbs. You hang them up to dry. Now it's hard to hang up the flower and dry because you don't want to do that. There's too much moisture in the flower. You got to take the petals off and let them sit and dry. It takes a lot of space, but with the dehydrator I was able to do a couple of batches, and yeah, smells very nice. But I want to use this up in the next year. That's how I will say it. I would want to use this up in the next year because if you think about herbs, it's the same thing, and spices. And I learned this from the chef that I worked with on to do with the Roehampton Food Society, where we had dinners once a month, and she was labeled the spice lady, is that the spices and the herbs and stuff, they go, I don't want to say stale, but they just tire. They get tired and their flavor gets tired. So you do want to consider how long you have some of these things and try to harvest or forage or grow enough that you would use in one or two seasons. Now, some things are different when you're canning. I'm not talking about canning. I'm talking about teas and things like that. And then here's the other thing, because we had so many tomatoes. And I didn't want to do the canning of the tomato sauce. I just didn't want to do that. So what else could I do with tomatoes? So I dehydrated them. And this will be, the patterns, I had some great pictures of tomatoes and then I accidentally deleted them, but there was one tomato that I cut, and what was right in the center part, the patterns that come in with the tomatoes are there's lots of them, and it had a little heart right in the middle, but unfortunately I deleted several pictures, and so that's tomatoes, dehydrated tomatoes, but you could freeze dried tomatoes. I did make a couple of jars of pasta sauce that just sit in the fridge, and you have to use them up, not something that you want to jar. And then I wanted to, I can say I kind of went mushroom foraging. It was just in a local ravine, and because I was looking up a couple of different kinds of mushrooms, I think it takes a while with any plants. If you're going foraging, you just learn a little bit. And I found some turkey tail in the ravine near me. Beautiful. And I recognized it because I had purchased some and had done a little bit of research. And there is a couple that look like this, but they don't grow exactly like this. So you do want to know enough about mushrooms. Anyway, I confirmed that this is definitely turkey tail just because of all the different characteristics. And this is like anti-tumor. This is, and to me, they use this medicinally, but it's just very fortifying for the immune system. In fact, I found a video from 2016. I probably have it up here in my many dozens of videos and tabs open, where, remember they talked about the cytokine storm within the system, and but back in 2016 when a person did it, it talked about to actually the turkey tail mushroom would actually prevent that from happening. So I thought that was very interesting because we've been hearing about the cytokine storm, and this would be amazing. And there's other mushrooms on here, but I do not know what they are. And like mushrooms are one of those things. I know a number of people, they are definitely those people that are survivalists. They go and stay in the wilderness, and some just don't touch mushrooms because they don't know enough about them. And it is one of those things you do not want to get wrong. Now, I can't tell you what's all about them. Let's see if there's anything else I want. Oh, one other thing. And although I didn't find these mushrooms or get these mushrooms, but in a lot of cases, there is certain things that we can do and we learn is, and we can get portobello mushrooms up here, but this is portobello mushroom jerky. Now, I had gotten a bag from the health food store. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And again, just it's like any jerky, you have to marinate it. And once you marinate it, then you just dehydrate it. So that is some portobello jerky. And over there, which I won't reach over, is some dehydrated liver that I got from my friend. No, freeze-dried liver. And interestingly enough, the freeze-dried liver that I used to get from the dog was kind of tired in itself. It was actually quite brown, and that's a sign of oxidation. Whereas when I did this liver, it actually turned out red. And that's freeze-dried, same thing. So that's really cool. So that's what I wanted to talk about there. Let's get into the news here, because there's much I want to kind of bring up, and but that's all of that. And nature, gardening, it teaches us much. It teaches us a lot. And one thing I wanted to point out about nature is the amount of seeds, the expansion that happens in nature, the potential possibilities of one apple producing 8 apple trees, which would produce hundreds of apples in themselves, and you just multiply that by a number of seeds, 5, 8 per apple, and you can see just the expansion, the growth. So here, we're in growth. Let's see what I have. One of the things I wanted to, that came to me the other day, it was Sunday, and I had to run out and get something, but I also had to deposit a check from one of my customers. And so I went into the bank, and I thought about this. I said, you know, I have been using cash as much as I can. And well, why not take out cash from the machine? Because here we're supposed to be, you know, we want to be able to communicate not only to the businesses, but to the bank machine that we're still into cash and taking out cash. So I just wanted to be mindful that everyone is still using cash, that you have cash, that you are you know, withdrawing cash from bank machines so they know you need them. Because what happens is if they get enough people using electronics and doing all of that stuff, they could come up with, well, you can't, nobody, hardly anybody's using it, so we're just going to move over and shift over. So, but if we continue to take out cash and we continue to use cash, that will be awesome communication in the world out there. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is, again, we're talking about cash, and on the same vein as financial, is to get out of debt, There's some of the books that I have talked over the years was like that, yes, and once you're out of debt, then you can kind of do some leveraging if you want, but to not be in debt at this point, you can appreciate that you have more options when it comes to having to make choices, right? So let's just hope this video is working well, and if it's pausing a lot when I've done the replays, it's always been okay. So I'm going to check on that tech stuff too and see if there's there, or if I can't figure it out, it might be my camera, could be anything like that. Yeah, I mean, again, they changed live Facebook again, and this is since then, a couple of weeks ago, it's been happening that way. And I can't see anything in here that says anything that would allow, anything. So I really wanted to first and foremost talk about the whole cash thing, the debt thing, and the economics thing. And what I find about economics, I studied in grade 13, but it's clear to me that they've really made it complicated. And I think simplification is the way to go. If I give you money, you give me a product. It's very simple. I didn't go and get a degree in economics, which apparently you can. You can do those kind of things for economics, but economics is created. The whole platform of economics, the whole understanding of economics, supply and demand, markets moving up and down. And that brings me to the markets. It is crazy. Remember, I have these market insight things that come in, and the way they tell you things, or the direction they tell you things are going, is sometimes be crazy. So just bear with me for a minute, because I'm going to look up a couple of these markets here. Yes, here it is here. And now we're talking billions here. We're talking billions. Specialty fats and oils market worth 19.8 billion by 2026. Now, oils is something that I bought, vegetable oils, when I did food processing for the bakeries and the other Western companies. But the idea is specialty fats and oils by type. So application, chocolate and confectionery, bakery product, processed animal nutrition, dairy, and infant nutrition, form, dry, and liquid in region. So it's all of this area. And one of the major factors driving the specialty fats and oils industry is the increasing gap between cocoa butter demand and supply. Now, some of this ain't going to make so much sense to you, but at the end of the day, I want to just, now if this is specialty fats and oils and doesn't include all of them, because vegetable oil, canola oil, I mean, they are the lubricant of the food industry. Forget about it being in the food, but it helps lubricate your foods at the end of the day, so they're not too dry and they don't stick together. That's why if you buy raisins, you gotta look, there's vegetable oil on most of the raisins out there, otherwise they would stick together. So some dried fruit require that. So palm oil, which is the largest type of oil produced globally, face the impact as demand dropped across the world. So there's, palm oil is palm oil, and the reason why they went there is because they could not use the hydrogenated vegetable oil as a process that created artificial trans fats, because there are trans fats that are natural, like in butter, those kind of things. So not all trans fats are bad. Here in Canada, we've actually banned it. But to know our food, there's actually a video that came up, and I've talked about insects before, and the food industry seems to be moving towards, again, in line with the climate stuff and change sustainability, moving towards things like insects and the fake food. Right? I talked about that in this whole fake food thing. So it's going to be even more and more important for people to understand. If you put fake food in your body, what's going to be your result? If you put things that are highly processed into your body, what's going to be the result? You are going to reap what you sow, so to speak, and you put in your mouth. And to read labels, what's that going to look like when they're starting to use it? Are they just going to use the word protein products? Because they already transition things like spices. You can't put certain spices on, you just group it into spices, so you don't know what spices they use. Oh, it's proprietary. I think we've heard that before recently with the, it's proprietary. Don't want you to know. But some of that labeling, how they want you to label, what they're telling you can only label with, can be, you just might not be able to know what it is. It could be insects because they put it under, protein products, right? Stuff like that. But fats and oils is probably, in my opinion, one of the highly processed foods because of the way they've set up the industry. It's they have a standardized process, refineries that actually refines, bleaches, the heats, bleaches, and deodorizes, and there's a couple of other things that can be on in there. If you ever want to look it up, look up the refining oil process, and it'll go through. You'll see how it goes through. But primarily what they're wanting to do is come up with an oil. That's it. Whether it's healthy for you or not matters not. It's not going to kill you the time that you consume it right away, but it is, think of it as sticky, gummy, it's in your body. Yes, it'll be, it's going to be lubricating, but not what you want. So there's a couple of other ones here too as well. So that's 19 billion by 2026. Again, it's the food industry, a lubricant of the food industry. They put it in a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure how they're going to get a fake oil, to tell you the truth. That would be a tough thing. But when you think of water soluble stuff like proteins and carbs, that would be rather interesting, easier to do. So there was a couple more here. If I can't find them easily enough because my computer's a bit slow, then I didn't have them open because it's one there. Protein ingredients. Okay, so talking about proteins. Protein ingredients market worth $70.7 billion by 2025. Now again, these are projections and trends, and so there's obviously more detail, but here you go, protein ingredients. Now if we were actually to read what it said about it, according to new market research report, protein ingredients market, didn't I just say protein ingredients, protein products, by source, animal and plant, form, dry and liquid, application, food and beverages, animal feed. Yeah, there's a lot of things. People don't understand how much of the waste product, even fish, goes into fish food. Even though the fish may not eat fish, they will put it in there as food for the animals. Pharmaceuticals. They need protein ingredients for pharmaceuticals and cosmetics and personal care. And then there's regions. So let's just see. Major factors driving the protein ingredients market include the increase in demand and consumption of functional food and beverages. Think of protein shakes. And definitely, what do they give but the crappy protein shakes they give Ensure and stuff. Probably shouldn't say any brands, these very unhealthy things in the hospital a lot, liquid diets, growing consumer awareness about healthy diets among people, and increasing demand for protein as nutrition and functional ingredients. So it's interesting that protein probably includes probably includes meat as well, because it does say here animal and plant form. So that includes a lot. So that's 70 billion versus fats, which is at 19 billion by 2025, in a few years from now. But at the end of the day, markets and how much food and how much we consume too much. That is no question there. We consume way too much. I talked about waste for that, so we have that as well. Now, let's see here. One of the things, just a reminder, and I did see this on some post somewhere, probably in Telegram, but it is about, we think of language. I've talked about language and words, and maybe you are looking at what you're reading a little bit, or seeing any word and asking yourself, where does this come from? And kind of what does it mean in the whole context of the language, and say English or any language, and TV programming. So in the case of this, it was kind of like an ad. Tel-lie, vision, Tel-lie vision programming. So television, but Tel-lie vision, so programming. So interesting words, but to be reminded that everything that we hear, everything that we see, everything that we read, everything that we're listening to and watching is coming into our into our senses. And sometimes what can happen, especially in the egoic mind, it doesn't know whether it's real or not. It's something that's coming in. And in essence, this is where a lot of people sit with a number of things. They're just beliefs. They're not experiences or knowing. They're just beliefs. And this is where a lot of people are, is they're believing in what they're seeing, what they're hearing from leaders and things like that. Now, my understanding that the ego can use some of these things, of course, which is when you get people judging, you get people feeling righteous about what they believe, and then projecting that onto other people. So language is very important, and I just want to have everybody look at the words, just at time you can think of it and you're watching certain things. What are they wanting you to believe? They talk like it's true. It reads like they know what they're doing, just like the Sapiens book or some of these other books. They project into the future something that they want you to start thinking about, imagining, using. A lot of people say I'm very visual, so when they read something or see something, it's a picture, it's a vision, and you are embedding that into your mind and thinking about it. So they want you to think about what they want, no question about it. And if you spend too much time on it, too much energy on it, you keep thinking about it, then it continues to change how you feel, perhaps, and also to project in the future of what it is that they want, not you want. That's why in times people are saying you've got to find out who you are. Upward and onward should be upward and inward. Inward, where you are being you and you know who you are and you know your powers, if I have to use that word. And this is where it's the whole thing about what you put in, most people have no idea. You could hear one little phrase and it sends your mind on a tailspin, or you see certain images or something they're saying and it gets you, your feelings change because of it, gets you upset. The thing that just came up recently, and I haven't gone on, but it's a European research, and it was Jimmy Dore. It was a video, and thanks for somebody sharing that. And the idea is, if you do enough research, the information is right there. What they are saying in media is they're saying that it is the uninjected people that are the ones getting sick. And in some cases, they're saying, there's a new research that's out, I've got the link here, that the increasing in COVID-19 are unrelated to levels of vaccination across 68 countries and so many counties. Now, how they would know that, I have no idea, considering the tests produce false positives, and in a lot of cases, they're not treating certain people the same way in the hospital. They're not even testing the vaccinated to see if they have COVID, so therefore you can't measure something. But in here it was very interesting because really what it kind of said as well in this show, because I'll post it down below, is that there are stats that are being communicated, and I think it's on NIH website or the CDC website, where here is this particular county, and where they have the highest amount of injections, they have the highest amount of COVID cases. So it doesn't really mesh with the research that is coming out of the NIH, and where they notice some stats and facts that they have also available. Oh, it's on the European thing research. There is, where there's less percentage of being injected, there is actually less of the cases, less cases. Let's CV19 cases. Now, does that prove anything? I still have a ton of questions over that for sure. That is, again, you have to fall back on, well, is the test correct? I was just on a call with somebody who is been stranded in a country because she had a false positive. But it doesn't matter. You can't catch your flight. You can't come back. And fortunately, 7 hours later on the phone call with the airline, 7 hours on hold, did they actually change the flight or rebook the flight. They did that with no extra cost. So that's kudos to WestJet here in Canada that did that for her. But if she wasn't staying at a family member's where she is, she would have been having to pay for a hotel, as some people are. And my neighbor, who's an emergency doctor, told me, because he was just recently in his hometown in Croatia, and he says he couldn't, I mean, the worry that people had about because coming back into Canada, this is where they have all this testing, you have to certain tests and this, and it's kind of crazy. He said they were just all so worried about doing the test that they probably couldn't even enjoy the holiday, that there was this angst about and about the test, and the test not coming back negative, I guess you could say. And there's that. Now there was, how much money did this person spend? It wasn't I mentioned the $700 because that's what this person who was talking about it today on a call was on, $700 in tests. So if you get, and there's no symptoms, and the people that went and got tested, and they're fine, everybody's fine, it's a false positive, but $700 is what it cost in the test. And now they're saying for people who don't want to get the injection, they're saying, no, we won't make them pay for the test. But what if they have to? That's pricey. That's very crazy time. I never would have thought we would be here today. Never ever thought that even the first lockdown would even happen. It was so surreal. Why is people not even questioning any of this? This is crazy. And just saying, no, I'm not doing it. It was just blew me away that we're here. Blows my mind still that we're here 18 months later. And if I had asked a number of people, they would have probably thought, oh, we're going to be, but then they kept seeding the minds of another lockdown. And then, of course, they executed it. For what? For what? We got a falsy test. What else was I saying? Science. I want to come back again. It's probably to the foundational stuff here. We need to be grounded in what science is. What is science? Science is a man-made institution in and of itself. It is completely man-made. If you need to give science another name, call it observing. Because the observing part tells you certain things, but it doesn't mean that that's all it is. It doesn't mean that we know everything about it. It doesn't mean we can figure certain things out. It causes us to question. It causes us to be humble, even in how things work. They haven't figured out how the body works. And here people are going, yeah, I'll give you up my genetics, and you can change them. They haven't even figured out the common cold or cancer for as many years as it's been out, and they have, again, zero confidence in them finding anything over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Go to the website and check it out. I'm not lying. Zero confidence. So with all the money that good people are pouring into these institutions, for what? To come up with a better pill? To come up with a better instrument? To come up with a better, okay, we're going to cut this out, or try this or try that? No, you have to understand the body and how it simply works. Not that you can control it or manipulate it or have any magic bullets. Not that kind of understanding, but the simple understanding, man is man, we are life, life exists all around us, and if we feed it properly, if we don't put it in a toxic environment, then we flourish, then we're healthy, then we don't get colds and flus and all of those things, which is just a way to wake up you to what is happening in your body, right? So we're not paying attention to what our body's going through. That is for sure. Now, there's a number of things I wanted to go through, and I'm just researching a couple of things here. It's kind of interesting. But Klaus Schwab talks about changing people with genetic editing, but that's biodigital. I brought that up. That's the Canadian version of making part man, part machine. Sapiens talks about it in the end of the book. Human augmentation, transhumanism is all comes in these different fancy labels, but at the end of the day, they are what are they doing? I think they're just putting a lot of junk and certain things in our body, because I'm not quite even sure, to tell you the truth, having heard a few things, whether or not we are familiar with the chromosomes, but I'm not sure if DNA is actually anything that they say it is, as far as you can play with it. You can splice things out and put things, because the Genome Project showed them that they didn't have, they thought there'd be 100,000, protein sequences, and there's only 30,000. So something's not right in Dodge. The idea would be that man wasn't meant to be part machine. And if you think about Star Trek actually goes into what happens when the Borg came in and they assimilated. They assimilated whatever. They could assimilate anybody and take that knowledge and put it into the hive mind, and you couldn't think for yourself. So they made them part machine, and they were controlled, and they couldn't think for themselves. They heard the voices of the hive mind, and that was it. I mean, that was it. Captain Picard was assimilated, let's say, and but not long enough. They were able to bring him back, but he had some nightmares, of course. I mean, how would you like it to be completely controlled, and you have all these voices in your head, and you have to do as you're told? It's like you're as other things have indicated, use the word zombie, like they've been pushing the zombie narrative as well. But here, Klaus Schwab of the Global Economic Forum speaks clearly in this interview about that. And of course they're going to talk about, the legal things, the ethical things, and they come across as if, yes, we're going to consider all of those. Oh, no, they'll be experimenting. It's experiment. They're already doing it by putting the mRNA injection into your body. So let's see what else I wanted to do. Oh, there's all kinds of things coming out. But there was one other thing I want to bring up here. I had a lot of stuff open here. It probably should have done more. Where is it? Oh, some natural hairs. Look at the cedar nut oil, pine nut oil, and eye health. This is one oil. I mean, the oils on one hand, they're highly processed, could be highly destructive in your body. They're oxidized. They don't do it. But cedar nut oil is another one that one could buy and do that. Now let me see. They're not quite opening everything up here, but that's okay. What's happening is not. So here's Seth Godin, might be known by some of you, and in here, his blog. So I've been getting his emails. I don't always get the emails that I'm interested in. I'm just very interested in what they say and what they're telling people. And Seth is one of those marketing guys, and he's got a certain mind, that I would say. It's he brings in all kinds of things, and he's very consistent almost on a daily basis. So tools, this is the email, tools for modern citizens. Now here's the tools for the modern citizens. It has taken us by surprise, but in our current situation, when everyone has more of a voice and more impact on the public than ever before, it suddenly matters. You wouldn't take your car to a mechanic who didn't know how to fix a car. And citizens, each of us, should be held to at least as high a standard of knowledge. Now this is a little bit of a trap, people, because at the end of the day, simplicity tells us that all you have to do is cover the basics. Cover the basics. If you think about the healthy lifestyle, you're moving, you're having fun, the whole mind, how you think, you're feeling at peace and joy and fun and socializing. We're social beings, we have to say that, but we also need time for ourselves. What you put into your body, movement, learning new things, that's where the trap is here. So let's see, everyone around us needs to know about No, we don't need to know about all of this stuff here. And I just wanted to go through the list here because this is what they want to bring you in on. And I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised at the same time, because a number of people alert me to where they are in some ways by what they're putting out there. And if anybody puts anything out about artificial intelligence, then, or the germ theory, which is on this list, and then it's a flag for me, if we want to say that. So what do we have here? Statistics. Ugh. Statistics, you can lie, but statistics can be manipulated and brought forth in any which way, shape, or form for you to believe whatever they want you to believe. Germ theory, epidemiology, decision making, propaganda, and the status quo. Semiotics and indoctrination, the mechanics of global weather, network effects, and artificial intelligence. Here we keeps coming off here because of the screen. I'm trying to go down. Either we are makers of our future or we're the victims. And if we don't understand the fundamental components of how the world works, our actions may undermine our goals as well as the people around us. Now there's more info there. Let me see if it'll come up. Anyway, there's more info there, but the idea again is, even if you just hear things repeated, whether it's understand how they don't help us or do help us, just the subject matter keeps coming up, if you know what I mean. Now, I think that's all I really wanted. There's so much on whistleblowers. Are crazy, coming out, and people are. And what's really crazy is continuing seeing the people that are affected by this. But I will say that it's very unfortunate, of course, very unfortunate. But it is allowing people to ask questions, ask questions, and through asking questions and now listening now, because they are questioning, then they are actually becoming more insightful or aware. That's what I'm going to say. And so, I mean, here's something here, proof of vaccination. Now, sometimes when I see people posting something, they make it out to be more than what it is. But the idea is, proof should never be needed. I mean, you heard all of the leaders last year, and I watched a number of videos where they were saying outright, and in the Jimmy Dore video, you're going to see that too, saying outright, no, we can't make people do something. In Canada happened the same thing. No, we can never do this, we can never do that, and they're doing it. That in it of itself, if people were to watch the before and after, would at least open their eyes and look, they said this, but now they're going to go into, well, but we should because we have all of this. Yeah, well, then question the fact that if they say that and they don't mean that and they do this, then what is the other pieces? Like, how can they be right? How can you not question some of the other pieces? I've been saying this to people in the last month. They'll say, blah, blah, blah. They said this, they don't like this about what the government does. Let's just say it that way. But then over here they go, yeah, and the government, they're all good. So no, hold on a second. This is the same entity. Is you're picking and choosing what you want to like and how you want to do. No, it's one entity, and the games they play is encompassing everything they do. It's almost like a cult. They will bring you in some very good things, give you love, make you feel good about yourself, make you feel loved, and then they'll slip other little things in there that are not so good. But it must be all good because a number of things were good and seemed and felt good, but then there's these other things that kind of get slipped in there as well, and that just... It's almost like if you're that's why I cannot be in politics or join a political party in some ways. Well, there's brighter ones coming up. But because I might not believe in everything that they want me to believe in. So what am I going to do? No, you're supposed to like everything that they do. but I couldn't do that. So here's the proof here of vaccination. This is in Oakville, where if you want to get a marriage license, you have to go into a building, right? So proof of vaccination starting September. This is September 22nd stuff. Town of Oakville will require anyone 12 years of age and older provide proof of identification and proof of full COVID-19 injections or medical exemption prior to entering or accessing any of the following. So town hall, yeah, indoor recreational, cultural. So this is all the government coming down here. And appointments for marriage licenses and ceremonies there. But I think you can still get married because there's the other there. But I'm not quite sure if this is really going to be crazy for people who want to get married if they're not. So it's really insane how some of these things are starting to happen. But we know why, because there's a very big push for controlling, very, very big push for controlling. And that's the end of it, right? It's all about control. They want you to be in a certain way. I hear that South Africa's highest court is set to free the continent from the New World Order, and that kind of thing. So there's a lot, there's a lot of things that you could spend on. I hope you're spending some time on doing some fun things. And I'm just going to grab the joke book here and tell a few jokes. Let's skip into that because there's a lot of things going on, and trust me, it's just going to get crazier and crazier in some ways if you need to spend all your waking hours staying up to top on all these things. I mean, that's the different, people have said that before. Do you have COVID? As in you're spending too much time. It's almost like gambling, right? And that kind of thing. Because you don't, it's almost like how can I say it? It's if you're into fashion, you want to know the latest fashion. So you get the magazine as soon as it comes out. And this is the same thing that they're getting people to spend a lot of their wonderful waking hours where they could be doing some fun things and doing things for themselves and taking care of themselves, and they're spending on, what does this person say, and what does that person say, and what's the latest, and what does this country do? That's a lot. It's a lot to take in. I will not claim that I'm taking it all in because it's just too much. It's just kind of simplifying it. So let's talk to a couple of jokes here. Just a couple. And these are is there a doctor in the house segment here. So Dr. Nesbitt, a veterinarian, was also the county sheriff. Remember, this book's 50 years old. Late one night, he had an urgent phone call. Shall I bring my medicine kit or my handcuffs? Dr. Nesbitt asked sleepily. Both, answered the voice on the other end of the line. I can't get my dog's mouth open, and there's a burglar in it. Doctor, have your eyes ever been checked? Patient, no, they've always been brown. You get it? Checkered. Sometimes I have to read these twice just to get what they're getting at, so don't feel bad. Dentist, what kind of filling do you want in your tooth? Young patient, chocolate. Doctor, there's an epidemic in this town, don't you? What are you doing to protect your family? The hillbilly, well, we got one of these here sanitary cups, and we all drink out of it. I can imagine what the sanitary cup is. It's a moonshine, I'm going to say. That's it. And so we'll just go there. I haven't read the other one, so I don't want to, who knows what they're going to say. But I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful week and enjoy. Again, take time for you. Have some fun. Make some fun phone calls. Have some laughs. Meet with some friends. And do what you need to do as far as helping people to reason, to question, to see what's going on, and then at the end of the day, they may not be up for it. So just have some fun with them. At the end of the day, we need to be there for people when they finally get some information. But this is a very interesting month, as they've called it Red October. I think there was a movie called Red October, but you may have gotten that kind of word as well, or that wind, Red October, a lot. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm still imagining freedoms, imagining blue skies, imagining all kinds of save children. So a number of things are definitely unfolding. It seems like these next few months are going to be, they're supposed to be revealing. So time will tell. Time will tell. Take care. This is Live at 5 with Cheryl Millett, and hopefully this replay is good. Take care. Bye for now.